Hey everybody. People are always asking me about the sounds that I create with the electronically augmented piano, so I thought I'd make a how-to video for Ableton Live detailing some of my techniques. Hopefully this will help you get started in creating your own effects with Ableton Live. If you're watching this video, you're probably already familiar with the electronically augmented piano and how it can sound. If you're not, basically what we're dealing with is adding live effects to an acoustic piano so that we can grow the sound of the piano in live performances. I have another video introducing the concept of the electronically augmented piano that you should check out if you want some more background information. So let's dive in. Once you have Ableton Live opened up and in session view, you can go ahead and get rid of all of your tracks except for one audio track. In our situation, this is the wet piano. You can see I also have my voice recording, and I have the dry piano, which is a piano sound that has no effects on it. It's just, since I'm recording it all, it's simulating the actual piano that would be in your room when you're performing. Let's assume that you've already figured out how to get the piano sound into Ableton by miking up your piano and getting the signal routing sorted out. If you need some help, check out that other video I referenced earlier or look up some online tutorials specific to your gear. Once you're here, you want to make sure that your track is activated. That's what this blue 3 is right here. If I turn it off, it turns gray. Now it's activated. And you're also going to want to make sure that monitoring is on. Monitoring is what enables us to hear the effects coming in live rather than just recording into Ableton. So that's pretty crucial to doing any sort of live effects. Now, if you start playing your piano, you should hear it and we should see Ableton recognizing the incoming signal. The next step is to start building effects. The first thing I do is to add this default piano rack that I made, which is really simple. It's just a gate and a high cut filter. You can see the gate here and the high cut filter here. The gate is absolutely necessary in live purposes in order to avoid feedback. You're going to want to set your threshold high enough that it cuts out noises stemming from outside of your piano, but low enough that it won't get rid of your softest piano playing. My pro tip to you would be to hook up this free Max for Live device called Envelope Follower to the threshold so that the louder you play, the higher the threshold of the gate goes. This is super helpful in getting rid of feedback. I'll show you what this looks like. Do something like 12%, add a little bit of gain to it, make the rise and the fall. All of these numbers, all of these parameters are things that you're going to mess with. Delay, you're probably going to want to leave at 0 though. So you can see that the threshold is now at 43.9 and it's turned gray because it's being controlled by this envelope follower. When I play, the gate rises. So all of these numbers, the threshold, all of these parameters I have set on the envelope follower, even my EQing, all of these levels, these are all going to be subject to change, and they're, what I have is all very approximate. It's going to be affected by a million different things like your piano, your microphones, your microphone placement, your speaker placement, or even your touch. So the list goes on, and you should mess with these values to best fit your situation. By the way, before I move forward, I wanted to say that if any of these terms don't make sense to you, like gate or filter, you can find online tutorials for pretty much any effect in Ableton. You can also just read their manual. I can't cover everything in this video, but all of that background information is available online for free. And of course, you can always just start dragging all of these effects into your rack and start experimenting yourself. So the next effect in my rack is the EQ. For my microphones, I find that too much high frequency gets in, and a simple high cut EQ makes it sound much better. So that's what we have here. We're cutting all the frequencies above this little blue line. So now that we have this default piano set up, it's time to start getting creative. I'll show you some of the sounds that I like to make, but you should explore the stock effects and your own plugins and start experimenting. One of the most simple but effective effects is called echo. If you have an older version of Live, this is called delay. So when we throw this effect on the end of our rack, check out what it sounds like. And of course, you can mess with all of these parameters. Add some more feedback. You can make the left and right values different from each other. Of course, this is going to take a lot of fine-tuning to get the sound that you actually want, but this will give you an approximate idea. So another effect that is totally magical is this one right here, grain delay. One of my favorite things to do with it is to set it so that it's going down in octaves. So that's going to be pitch at -12. And you can hear what happens just by playing one note. It's pretty cool. Anyways, that's a great one to mess around with, especially if you add a reverser to it. So with any time-based effect, if you're doing something with shifting pitch centers, you'll hear that, let's say we're going from a D major to an A flat major. You can hear that the A flat major chord is still, or the D major chord is still ringing out when we only want to hear the A flat major. So what we can do is we can add some compression. I like to sidechain that to the pre-effects. And you're going to have to mess with all of these numbers, but basically what this is going to do, this is going to squeeze the output so that we have our D major. You can hear that the D major kind of goes away when we attack the new chord. Let's try this going up in octaves. It'll be easier to hear. Oh. Let's do that again up in octaves without the glue compressor to hear the difference. You can hear the harmony kind of mixes together, and that might be something you want to avoid. The last effect, which I'm going to show you, which is really simple, is fuzz. Where are you at, fuzz? Oh, that's under pedal. Fuzz. A little bit of gain. That's a great effect to fade in while you're playing. So now let's talk about how we can switch these on and off throughout the course of a performance. There are three main ways that I like to use. The first is a simple on-off switch. So if we go back to our grain delay, drag that in here, what we could do is we could map an on-off switch to our power. So let's say I press a button on my MIDI controller. You can see the effect goes on and off. But what I find sounds a lot better is if we throw an additional gate in front. That's going to do pretty much nothing. It's either going to take away all of the sound, or it's going to take away none of the sound. So I'll get rid of that mapping, and I'll map this to the threshold. And that's actually the setting that we want, infinitely soft or as high as it can go for the threshold. You can see the threshold is either no sound is coming through, now the effect is off, now the effect is on. And this is really helpful, making the entrances and exits of the effects a lot more smooth. So you can see when I turn off the gate, when I turn off the effect, you can still hear it for a moment. If I were to map my MIDI back to the on-off switch of the device, that would not be the case. You get that really short ending, which I personally like to avoid. Okay, so another really great way of bringing the effects in and out. This one works really well for the fuzz. So I'm going to go back to pedal, bring that in, is to map a foot pedal. So think about like a volume pedal, and map that to either the dry wet or to the gain. So check this out. Now you can see when I move my foot, this dry wet over here goes up and down. The last method that I like to use to turn effects on and off is dummy clips. So if we go back to our grain delay and we want to make it going down in octaves, let's say we want to make it start going down in octaves, but we want to do it slowly by opening up a filter. So we could theoretically move a pedal to move this parameter up and down. You can see this is the frequency going up and down. We could hook up a pedal, or we could cue it with a dummy clip. A dummy clip is definitely the way to go if you're trying to do multiple things at once. Like let's say we wanted to move the frequency and also add some delay at the same time. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create an audio recording that has no actual audio in it. Okay, so you can hear when I play this, nothing happens. So we don't want it to loop. Let's make this 8 measures long. And you can see we have our envelopes open. So this particular envelope that's here is the delay. So let's say over the course of these 8 measures, we want to fade in some delay. We're going to go like that. And then we also wanted to open up that filter. So we're going to find our EQ8-1 frequency. Perfect. So we want to start at 22 kilohertz right there. And we're going to bring it down all the way so it opens all the way over the course of 8 measures. And now I'm going to map this, the clip start, to a MIDI signal. And so I can press this MIDI signal. And you can see the frequency starts moving and also the delay send starts moving. This is all happening hands-free. So I can play piano while that's going on. Anyways, like I said, this is great for doing things like crossfading, multiple effects, or generally doing multiple things at once because you can program really complicated things into the press of one button. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. Hopefully this helped you. Let me know in the comments if there's another topic that you want me to cover. Thank you so much for watching.